Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Thursday morning, it is announced that defensive line coach Bo Davis leaving LSU, moving on to the NFL. I think this is an exciting conversation to have for LSU fans, and not necessarily Bo Davis leaving. I think we all think very highly of Bo Davis. LSU spent a lot of money to bring Bo Davis back to LSU. It's not like you're celebrating Bo Davis leaving this program. But I think the conversation is we have over the last 12 months seen Brian Kelly be very aggressive in terms of his coaching hires. And he's clearly not afraid to spend a lot of money trying to bring the best coaches across the country to LSU. I would guess that LSU is going to take a very big swing at a couple of very good defensive line coaches over the next couple of days. And I would expect this thing to move relatively quickly. You kick off spring ball in about 7 days. And so you kind of want that coaching staff ready to rock and roll going into spring practice, especially on the defensive line where LSU is trying to make that jump. And you got a lot of young cats on that defensive line that you want to make sure is getting developed during spring practice. I think the good news for LSU fans that Bo Davis was the highest paid defensive line coach that we saw in the country in the 2024 year. LSU has some money to spend, and we know they are willing to go spend and bring in a really good defensive line coach. Want to talk about some candidates that would be, I think, at least should be mentioned when LSU's going out to hire a new defensive line coach. Before we get into it, as always, to the LSU fans, let it fly in the comment section. A lot of names that you could certainly consider and that I think will be considered over the next couple of days. Would love to hear from y'all in the comment section. I got in the lab and cooked a little bit. I think I got 4 names that would be very good hires. Let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start. I want to quickly talk about why Bo Davis is leaving. And I think for a lot of people, you're kind of surprised, right? Coming back to LSU, getting paid a lot of money to do so. You spend 1 year at LSU, now you're going to the NFL. There are some outside fans, not LSU fans, that are saying, well, he thinks that Brian Kelly's not going to have a good year in 2025. He's trying to jump ship before the ship sinks. I don't think that is accurate. I think that you're seeing a lot of college coaches, especially older college coaches, who are probably done recruiting as hard as it takes to be an elite coach at the college football level. They're moving on to the NFL, just hanging them up. We saw Nick Saban 12 months ago retire. We've seen a lot of college football coaches, guys like Chip Kelly, move on to the NFL. I think there are a lot of older coaches that just are kind of tired of coaching college football and want to get back to actually coaching football in the NFL. And the way I look at it, if you're an LSU fan, hey, if Bo Davis does not want to do that stuff, then college football ain't for him right now. You know what I mean? You need coaches that are willing to get on the trail and recruit their tails off. And if Bo Davis is ready to move on from that part of coaching, then best of luck to him at the NFL. But you want to get a guy coming in that is willing to do what's necessary on the recruiting trail to recruit top end talent, especially at the defensive line spot, where it's just can you stack as many big, strong bodies as you can. It's what it's about. Now, the more exciting conversation, the conversation I think a lot of LSU fans clicked on this link to hear is, hey, where does LSU go here? I think, and there are going to be some USC fans that are probably listening to this. The first name you have to mention is Coach Eric Henderson, right? I thought he did a great job at USC in 2024. Went into LSU's backyard and grabbed Jakeem Stewart, brought him to USC. How I look at this is, look, he's a Louisiana guy, so that certainly helps LSU's chances. And LSU was paying a guy like Bo Davis a lot of money, so they're probably going to have the funds to push for a guy like Coach Henderson if they want him. What I'll say here, though, is USC's been very, very good at retaining their coaches. Danton Lynn was a guy that Penn State wanted as their defensive coordinator. USC ponied up and got Dan Lynn to stay. Doug Belk in the secondary, Miami wanted him. USC got him to stay. USC hasn't lost their defensive coaching staff. It's very clear that they like their coaching staff and they don't want to lose them. And so, no doubt, I think LSU will make a run at Coach Eric Henderson, no doubt in my mind. Are they able to get him from USC? That's probably the conversation. There are a few other coaches that I do think are very interesting. I want to go to Larry Johnson at Ohio State. And there's been some rumors, if you will, about Larry Johnson not necessarily being super happy in Columbus. There's been some shakeups in terms of Ohio State staff. Matt Patricia comes in as the defensive coordinator when guys like Tim Walton or Larry Johnson might have been candidates to be elevated to that defensive coordinator spot. Now, Larry Johnson's been there for about a decade, but with all those rumors kind of circulating, I wonder if LSU can entice Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson, he goes so underappreciated at Ohio State. I cannot believe the negative chatter that Ohio State fans have about this dude. You look at the defensive line this year, they're going to send 5-6 guys to the NFL draft on the defensive line. I mean, they're going to have guys who are in their twos going to the NFL. It's one of the, if not the best defensive lines that we saw in all of college football. Larry Johnson recruits extremely well. That LSU defensive line last year sacked the quarterback 11% of dropbacks. That was number one in the country. That's what LSU's looking for going into 2025. This is a proven commodity at the defensive line coach spot that not only can develop players, but also recruit players to LSU. What are the two things you're looking for when you're hiring position coaches? Can you recruit good players to the program? Can you develop those good players? If you can recruit good players and develop those good players, chances are you're going to have a really, really good college football team. Larry Johnson does both of those at a very high level. I think Larry Johnson would make a lot of sense. I think Gerald Chapman would make a lot of sense at Florida too. He was rumored to be an NFL candidate for the Chicago Bears on the defensive line. He did a great job at Florida. I mean, in the month of November, and the LSU fans know this because y'all went to Gainesville, and that Florida, a very good LSU offensive line. Florida was winning up front. He's done a great job with that Florida defensive line. And you kind of listen to the rumors and the coaching chatter. And there's a lot of people think that Gerald Chapman's like one of, if not the best coach in the country at that defensive line spot. LSU, I mean, you just went and got a guy like Corey Raymond. Maybe you go out and get a guy like Gerald Chapman too, who obviously spent some time at Tulane in the state of Louisiana, which obviously makes a lot of sense for LSU too. Last name that I'd throw out there maybe in terms of serious contenders, because I got one that's kind of a fun one. Travarion Robertson at South Carolina. He's putting out 3 NFL dudes this year. TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, Alex Hunley's done a great job on that defensive line. That was a defensive line that was top 10 in the run, was top 10 sacking the quarterback. It's what you're looking for. Yeah, if you're Brian Kelly and LSU. The fun one. And y'all see my sweatshirt. It's actually my favorite Buffalo Bill, I should say, of all time, LSU grad Kyle Williams, who I believe is back in the state of Louisiana coaching high school ball. I probably wouldn't hire Kyle Williams to come in and coach the defensive line because he's never been a coach at the collegiate level yet. If you're looking for a staff hire, a guy that could potentially in the future take over the defensive line job, Kyle Williams would be your guy. I mean, I don't think there was a better leader that the Buffalo Bills have seen, maybe outside of Josh Allen currently, than Kyle Williams. I mean, the Buffalo Bills stunk my whole childhood. And Kyle Williams was the face of that Buffalo Bills program. My all-time favorite, would love to see him at LSU. I think it would make a lot of sense. No doubt he would recruit the state of Louisiana at an extremely high level. I think LSU's got a lot of options here. And again, because there's 2 things. One, you were paying Bo Davis, I think 1.2 for defensive line. I mean, that he was the highest paid defensive line coach in the country. So you have that money to go grab a really good coach. And I think secondly, Brian Kelly has shown us that he is pushing his chips into the middle of the table, not only in terms of what they did in the transfer portal, but what they've done from a coaching staff perspective too. They want to have elite personnel. They want to have elite coaches. And Brian Kelly knows that he needs to win in 2025. And so I don't think you're going to see Brian Kelly spare any expense hiring the perfect fit for this LSU defensive line coaching job. We'll see where they go. I think these are probably the best options you have to take a look at. We'll sign out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. Let it fly in the comment section. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.